Hey friends, ever wondered what it's like to be a Psyker? If you're new around here and have no idea what I'm talking about, just think of them as sorcerers. And among the most powerful groups of sorcerers in the galaxy, that honor belongs to the Thousand Suns Legion. Their Primarch, Magnus the Red, is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, Psyker in the entire Warhammer universe. Using psychic powers is the main thing that sets the Thousand Suns apart and makes them such a unique legion. But let's take it one step at a time. Imagine you're living on ancient Terra, back before the Imperium was even a thing. You discover you have abilities. You can move things with your mind, shoot lightning from your fingertips, read thoughts. Then one day, this giant golden-clad dude shows up and starts a series of military campaigns to unite the planet under his rule. He promises a new golden age for humanity, a rebirth of mind, body, and spirit, casting off the shackles of darkness. Join him or not, the choice is yours. But I'd probably say yes and sign up for his new Legions Astartes. So you do, and you end up in the 15th Legion after going through the whole grueling process of becoming a Space Marine. And it turns out there are only about 1,000 recruits in your Legion who have these, let's say, gifts. Hence the name, the Thousand Suns. Pretty cool, right? Initially, the Legion fought in the Great Crusade just like everyone else. But what's 1,000 Space Marines in a galactic war? That's right, not much. Unless they have psychic powers that have been getting stronger and stronger, probably due to exposure to the warp. And if you don't know what the warp is, it's basically space hell. And you, my friend, are wielding gifts from space hell. What could possibly go wrong? How about uncontrollable mutations? A little problem they called the flesh change. This curse was brutally cutting down the numbers of the already tiny Legion. The Marines who succumbed to the flesh change were put into stasis fields, hoping a cure could be found in the future. And a cure was found. Almost. The Emperor arrived on the planet Prospero, found Magnus the Red, handed him this very problematic Legion, and then left pretty quickly. The moment he did, the curse returned with a vengeance. Magnus tried everything to stop it, but nothing worked. At the most desperate moment, he made a deal with a mysterious entity, trading his own eye to save his Legion. Now, it's no secret that when you hear mystery and eyes in the same sentence, we're probably talking about Tzeentch. But Magnus had no clue. Which is kind of weird considering I just called him the most powerful Psyker around. And guess how many of Magnus's sons survived? That's right, 1,000. If you guessed that, hey, maybe you're a Psyker. So, the Legion finally has its Primarch. The Great Crusade continues, and you and your buddies are so badass that just 1,000 of you are enough to bring entire worlds into compliance. But as time went on, the Emperor and some of his other sons became more and more critical of using sorcery and messing with the warp. This all led to the Council of Nicaea. At the council, all legions were forbidden from using Psykers. So, what do you do when your entire legion is made of Psykers? You go back to your homeworld, lock yourself in your room, and cry. Despite the ban, Magnus kept practicing sorcery. He discovered Horus's betrayal and tried to talk him out of it. When that failed, he ran to tattle on him to dad. Now, we should pause here and explain why just calling up the Emperor wasn't so simple. In short, the Emperor was busy with his secret webway project, basically a network of portals shielded from the horrors of the warp, meant for safe travel across the galaxy. Now back to Magnus. He decided he didn't have time for a road trip and used his astral projection ability to warn his father about Horus as fast as possible. But on his way to Terra, Magnus slammed right into that protective barrier, shielding the Emperor's project from demons. He tried to break it and failed. This is the second time in this video I'm starting to regret calling him the most powerful Psyker. And just like before, that mysterious stranger popped up and offered to help. Magnus quickly agreed, and together they shattered the barrier. The result was, let's say, predictable. Thousands of demons flooded into real space and completely wrecked the Webway project. For this, the Emperor banished Magnus's astral form and sent the Space Wolves to Prospero to bring Magnus back to Terra for punishment. And remember you? The Thousand Sun? You've just been sitting in your room crying this whole time, when suddenly the full force of a punishment fleet, led by Leman Russ, descends on your planet. Horus, meanwhile, had whispered in Russ's ear and convinced him to just kill Magnus instead of arresting him. Coming out to the sounds of battle, you witness what would later be called the Burning of Prospero. The Thousand Sons were completely unprepared for the attack and suffered devastating losses. Their only hope was that Magnus would realize the danger his sons were in and come to their aid. And he did. This led to a monstrous duel between Magnus and Russ. Both were nearly killed, but Russ came out on top, breaking Magnus's back over his knee. With his last ounce of strength, Magnus opened a portal to the warp and teleported the survivors of his legion to a new world. Do you think he did it without help from our mysterious friend? Of course not. In any crisis, Magnus's first move was to make a deal. You'd think he'd have learned by now that it never really helps. After teleporting his sons, Magnus shattered into multiple shards of his personality. The Thousand Sons then went on a quest to collect these shards to bring their Primarch back. They found almost all of them, and it was enough. The result was the re-emergence of the Crimson King, now in the form of a demon prince of Tzeentch. Reunited with their father, the Thousand Sons joined the traitors and began to serve Tzeentch. And let me tell you, that always leads to bad things. So, friendly advice: never make deals with mysterious entities. Sometime later, the Thousand Sons were once again afflicted by the flesh change, and this time, trading an eye wasn't going to cut it. This is where Ahriman, one of the most powerful sorcerers, steps onto the stage with his cabal. They performed an incredibly powerful ritual that would later be known as the Rubric of Ahriman. This ritual created the Rubric Marines, essentially souls sealed inside their power armor, free from all physical weaknesses. And those sorcerers who survived the ritual? Their psychic powers were amplified to incredible new levels. So the Thousand Sons ended up with a powerful army of nearly unkillable Rubric Marines, led by the strongest sorcerers in the galaxy. Not a bad trade, you might think. Magnus disagreed. He banished Ahriman, went off to get his revenge on the Space Wolves on their homeworld of Fenris, and restructured his legion into 9 powerful cults. So, what's the final verdict on the Thousand Sons? They are a unique legion of space marines who, while constantly overestimating their own abilities, have always been driven by a thirst for forbidden knowledge and ancient artifacts. These days, they spend most of their time finding cults that worship Tzeentch or other chaos gods, tricking them and killing them to steal their artifacts and spells. But sometimes, if a cultist is particularly promising, they'll test them by pumping them full of warp energy. If the cultist survives, they get promoted to a level 1 sorcerer, since they've got to get new recruits somehow. Also, you've probably noticed that the Thousand Sons, like many legions, have a theme inspired by one of our ancient civilizations. In their case, it's ancient Egypt. They even have pyramids on their homeworld. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Thousand Sons. And for the real lore buffs out there, try to count how many massive mistakes Magnus made. So now you know what it's like to be a Psyker in the 41st millennium.